guys, just quickly before the video starts, my requests are open, please like and subscribe, and I hope you guys enjoy the video. You had moved houses with your family because of your dad's new job. This came with having to switch schools. Of course you weren't thrilled about this, but you were used to having to move around and join new schools. Although, this time, you were told by your dad that you would at least be staying and attending school until at least the end of the year. You were not sure if you were going to prefer that or not, but you didn't have the best expectation for the school you were about to join. It had been a few days, you had moved there, and had just been trying to get used to the house you were now in. And in the area, you would never admit it, but you actually liked the house. And although you hadn't stepped foot in the school yet, so you were trying to keep your expectations relatively low, considering the school's usually a letdown. You had been getting ready for your first day in the new school, and you were dreading it, but you tried to keep a little bit positive. When you were finally ready, your mum dropped you off a little bit away from the school. As it was your first day, you had walked up to the building with a little bit of time to spare. So you started to walk around the building you were going to have to get accustomed to. You saw a group of girls, one with very bright blonde hair, and she approached you. "Hi, I'm Angela. Who are you?" she asked, with a slightly judgmental look. "Well, then, it's nice to meet you. So what class do you have first?" "Oh well, would you look at that? I had that class too. You might as well walk with us." Although it was clear she was slightly judgmental, most teenage girls were, so you hesitantly agreed, mainly so you would be able to figure out where the class is, without having to ask people and hope someone would take pity on you and help. You followed them, not overly paying attention to them and what they were discussing. That was until she had turned to you. "So listener, any boys you found cute?" You were kind of shocked by the question, as you had just walked into the building like 20 minutes ago, and wasn't paying that much attention to anyone, let alone the boys walking around the school. You shook your head, saying no, you didn't. "Well, trust me, you will." You didn't respond, but you know it was unlikely for you to like, well, anyone in the school, let alone boys. But you obviously weren't going to mention that to them, knowing you'll probably lose more than you'll gain, so you just nod. You had finally reached the classroom. The teacher had sat you next to a boy, closest to the door. You had looked over at the boy, as when you had walked into the classroom. The boy seemed sweet enough, just coming across a little shy, and closed off. You just simply sat next to him, not making a fuss, as you sat down. He turns to you, smiling slightly. "Hi, I'm Will," he says slightly shyly, but you could tell he was just trying to be nice. After you both had been having small talk for a while, and trying to get to know each other better, you had felt someone had been staring at you, so you had turned around to see a girl looking at you. She looked quite similar to Will, so you had just assumed she was related to him. You smiled at her. You thought she was pretty. She smiled at you back. She looked quite shocked that you had even smiled at her. She seemed almost excited. You were a little confused, but you just kind of guessed she wasn't used to people being nice to her. The class went on and she had to be given a presentation about her dad. You felt bad about it, but you just kept quiet during the class. You had been walking around switching between hanging out around Will and Angela, although you had preferred hanging out with Will. Angela won't leave you alone and continues to ask you questions. After a little bit, you get slightly annoyed and you walk away, excusing yourself to go to the bathroom. "Oh well, do you need help finding it?" "No, you'll find it." "Oh, okay," she said with a slight attitude. You walk in, seeing the girl from class, crying, sitting on the ground with her face on her knees. You felt slightly awkward, unsure on how to comfort her, but you went over to her, sitting on your knees in front of her, trying not to scare her or anything. You started to speak softly and saying hi and asked her what's wrong. She stays silent for a minute and not looking up before she finally does so. I just don't get why they're so mean to me." You go and grab a tissue and you wipe the tears off her cheek. You weren't sure what to say, you just were making jokes on Angela, making her laugh slightly. "No one in the school likes me except my brother." You tell her you'll be her friend. She smiled at you, almost to the point you wouldn't know she was crying a few minutes before, if it wasn't for the fact that her eyes looked a little puffy and watery. "I'm Jane." You looked at her a little confused because it sounded like she was going to say something else, but you had introduced yourself too. Time skipped to Friday. After school, you had answered the phone and Angela invited you out to go skating that night. You were bored, so you had agreed. Telling your parents you were going to go out, they were just happy you were hanging out with friends. So you got dressed and left to go and meet them there. Okay, so that this doesn't come too long because it's already a really long thing. During your time there, the whole issue with Angela, Bling, Jane, or 11, and then they go back to the house. The whole scene with Mike, Will, and 11 happens, but instead of going to bed, she calls you and asks to come over. You agree, giving her your address. Time Time skip to when she gets there. She had arrived and you had let her in. As you led her up to your room. Listen, listener, I'm sorry about this. Although you weren't thrilled, you just said it was fine, and you put a film on, as a distraction, so you wouldn't have to talk too much about it. As you go sit next to her, a little bit into the film, you felt her head hit your shoulder. Although slightly shocked, you didn't overly mind it. So you just put your arm round her. You got bored a little later into it, so you started playing with her hair. You could see a slight blush hit her face, but you ignored it and continued to play with her hair. She had leaned into you as you played with her hair. You had stopped. She had sat in front of you, staring into your eyes. You felt her lean into you, kissing you, quickly but slightly softly. A little shocked by the act, you froze up before pulling away. You had asked why she had done that. I'm sorry. Time skipped to the next day. That night had become really awkward. You had just turned to ignoring her, not fully on purpose, just you were confused. So you wanted time to think things through. So that day you had stayed away from her, sticking with Angela, although that was until you had gotten home and heard a knock on your door. You had obviously went to get it to see Will. You were really confused of why he was there, most importantly, how he got your address, but you ignored that thought, focusing on why he was there. Listen, I know you're confused, but can I come in? He asked slightly awkwardly. You had agreed to go to your room so you could talk to him in private. So I wanted to talk to you about what happened last night with my sister. You had looked away for a second out of instinct. You didn't know if it was because you were embarrassed or just feeling awkward the fact he knew. Listen, I'm not judging you or anything. I just wanted to talk to you and see how you're feeling. You decided to be honest and state that you think you like her, but the way she went about it wasn't very helpful considering the circumstance. Talk to her. You know she broke up with Mike, right? You looked at him kind of shocked. It was evident on your face that you didn't know that. Time skipped. After he had left your house, you had invited Eleven over so you could talk to her properly. Listen, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have kissed you. Listener, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have kissed you. I know it was wrong. You interrupted her by kissing her. Wait, what? You like me too? She said, rather shocked and excited.